Hello and welcome to another edition of ProtoBalls Talk. I'm ProtoMet.
I'm Barry.
And today, we got Zombies.
Zombies. Night of the Living Dead, y'all.
Classic George Romero original.
What, you've never seen it? Pull it up on YouTube right now. What's that? There's a ton of versions of the movie, all on different channels, all that are at the same time. Well, that's right, because Night of the Living Dead is public domain. Oops.
Purely by accident.
Yes, originally it was going to be called Night of the Living Flesh Eaters, and then they realized, oh, that's like a Flesh Eaters has already been copyrighted, so can't change the name quick.
What about just Dead?
Well, no, yes, sure, let's go with that.
Night of the Dead.
Night of the Dead. No.
Seems kind of anticlimactic.
What if they're living?
How can the dead be living?
That's the point.
Brilliant.
Night of the Living Dead it is. By the way, did we
And
send...
scene.
And scene. Did we send this off to the copyright department?
Copyright department.
I forget what it's called. Trademark Bureau? I don't forget.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Night of the Living Dead. It doesn't have a trademark and didn't have a copyright. And so... They couldn't make money on it.
But as a result, you can get this movie dirt cheap, if not free, if you know where to look, which is a lot of places.
And Night of the Living Dead, of course, is directed by George Romero, starring George Romero's friends, all of them, a whole bunch of them. And half the cast are actually producers. So, you know, the released in 1968. October 1st officially is when it was screened in Pittsburgh, and then it released released nationally 3 days later.
Now, despite the fact that it was made on a shoestring budget with a bunch of people who were doing it probably just for fun, this movie is a classic.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why Night of the Living such and such has become so well used when just in reference to this movie.
You want to know what's crazy, though? Is that before this movie, George Romero was working on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Checks out.
Yep, checks out. And it was actually a three-man team, where it was screenplay was written by John Russo with George Romero also involved in that part, and then it was also produced by Russell Striner, and those three had produced the movie under the name Image 10, which is what their production company was at the time. And all three of them worked pretty hard on it. And Russell Striner, as it happens, I believe he's also in the movie. But Russell Striner is one of the first characters we see, who is Johnny. Yep. So, which is Barbara's brother, starring Judith O'Dea, who is still with us. Both characters, or both actors. So the movie starts with them driving through the Pittsburgh countryside
to go visit their dad's grave,
which is at a very remote rural cemetery.
To the point where, what is it, Johnny?
Yeah.
Where he's complaining pretty much the whole entire time up and while they're there.
It's like, why did we get to drive 3 hours just to visit the old man's grave? You know? Johnny's not necessarily...
And this fake cross we got.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we bought this last year. They're just reselling it to us. What happened to the one we left, huh?
Well, it dies and somebody takes it away. Johnny's just there to kind of complain. because he didn't wanna come because it's already starting to be evening. We're under the assumption that it's late day because he mentions that by the time they get back to Pittsburgh, which is allegedly a 3-hour drive, it'll be nightfall by then. So it's fairly close to nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Late evening.
And then Barbara spots somebody wandering through the cemetery.
And of course, Johnny, sensing that Barbara is not a big fan of cemeteries, and starts to tease her.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yes, which causes that immortal line that has been one of cinema's greatest one-liners, for better or worse. And, so Johnny's just pestering and harassing Barbara, as brothers are wont to do.
But that draws the attention of the Wanderer, who decides to accost them.
Yes.
And he violently attacks Johnny.
Well, first he attacks Barbara,
But
Johnny comes to Barbara's rescue.
But the guy tosses Johnny aside and he knocks his head on a tombstone.
Dying. He is dead for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And so Barbara flees. She just runs to the car and then hits the emergency brake while the zombie tries to chase after her.
Yeah, it's a zombie. It's definitely a zombie. It's like if you've gotten this far into a movie called Night of the Living Dead and didn't figure out that the guy who's randomly attacking people is one of the Walking Dead, you're probably pretty dumb.
But for what it's worth, in this movie they are not explicitly called zombies. They're actually called ghouls in this version because they hadn't come up with zombie.
Prior to this movie, the term zombie more referred to like Haitian voodoo type zombies.
Yes.
It was actually this movie very specifically that popularized the current mindset of what a zombie is.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
Which, again, goes to show you just how influential this shoestring budget movie was.
And it's also extremely influential for other reasons, which we will get into very shortly, because Barbara's accidentally crashed the car, and so she hoofs it out. And these ghouls, by the way, they can use basic tools for, like animals, like feral animals will sometimes use tools to hunt and do basic tasks.
I'm trying to think of another example. This is, I guess it's kind of like the first Mad Max, where they hadn't yet set up what a post-apocalypse was supposed to look like. In this movie, the more traditional zombies haven't yet been firmly established as we know them, as slow, lumbering.
They're
dumb.
In here, there's conflicting reports, and we do get conflicting scenes about just the nature of them, because sometimes they're extremely weak, other times they're just tearing the place apart, and so the rules for Romero's Dead universe has not been established yet.
I could assume that it may have something to do with how fresh the zombie is.
It's possible. Although by that point, not to get into too many spoilers, Day would kind of flip that on its head.
Right. But for the purposes of this movie,
yes,
you could just use that as your shorthand headcanon.
And if you haven't guessed, night, dawn, day, land, diary, and survival, they're all interconnected. They're all essentially retellings or expansions upon the main meta-narrative of a zombie apocalypse. They just take place at different points.
So yeah, you can watch all of the movies independently of each other and get a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of a larger world.
Yeah, the Dead series is because, and then not to mention, Night of the Living Dead also serves as a prequel to the Return of the Living Dead movies. because John Russo successfully sued George Romero to be able to write his own script. He basically pulled the whole. I forget the guy's name, but he had written Thunderball, and then when Eon used the script for Thunderball without crediting him, he sued them and successfully cut a deal where they would use Thunderball, but after 10 years, it was either 10 years or 15 years, he would be allowed to make his own version, which is where Everything or Nothing comes from, that version, which stars Sean Connery, also as James Bond. And that one's a very confusing mess. But basically, Russo wrote his own version, which is Return of the Living Dead, which is a whole different can of worms.
I do know that one more plays up the more traditional aspects of zombies, such as the whole brains thing.
That one is like kind of a parody of zombie movies, but in its own style. And it's one of the first movies that has running zombies. But we're not talking about that, of course. We're talking about the original. And Barbara, while running, down the road, and she's lost both of her shoes, and she stumbles onto a farmhouse and runs inside, locks herself in. And so this is where we get to the meat of the story. This is where
when the point when she finds the meat upstairs.
Ah, yes, that's very, very clever. Yeah.
She doesn't get very far upstairs when she spots a corpse at the head of the stairs, partially devoured.
And if anybody has ever read, who is I forget his name. He's the director of, like, Young Frankenstein and...
Oh, Mel Brooks?
Yeah, Mel Brooks.
That's a weird name to forget.
Hold on. So, Mel Brooks' son, Max Brooks, the writer of World War Z, by the way, he also wrote
the Zombie Survival Guide?
The Zombie Survival Guide, and he specifically writes in there that basements are bad, second floors are the best place to go if you tear down the staircase.
And this movie is the opposite.
And this movie is the exact opposite, yeah. But for different reasons.
I will give this movie credit. The partially devoured corpse we see is, like, seared into my brain.
Yeah, it's a very
iconic shot of the movie.
So, Barbara's kind of wandering around, the phones aren't working, and she's starting to get, like, really scared. And so she decides, I'm going to book it out the front porch. And then she's going to book it out the front porch, and that's when she runs into the headlights of a truck. And out comes our lead character for the rest of this movie, because Barbara doesn't do a goddamn thing.
Yeah, she checks out not long after this.
We meet Dwayne Jones as Trucker Ben, who is one of the very first black leading characters in a serious movie.
And, like, right from the word go, his character just takes command of the whole thing.
Right.
Like, he firmly establishes himself as the lead character in this movie, which is great.
Yep. And he's arguably the most qualified to do it, of course. So, Dwayne Jones, so here's the story of how that happened. He just happened to be the best actor that auditioned for Night of the Living Dead. He was like an actual actor. He had a SAG-AFTRA. He was part of the actors union and all that. And he was just the best audition that they had. And initially, there wasn't really any clue as to Ben's ethnicity. And so when Dwayne, who happened to be a black man, got the part, it sort of was... At the time, Romero didn't really think anything of it, but it's Ben's become one of the iconic early black heroes in fiction. Right next to, because at the time, the only other, like, major black actor at that time was Sidney Poitier. And this was just after they had done In the Heat of the Night, which is a crazy film. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should check it out. I mean, it's what the TV show is based off, starring Carol O'Connor. And that show is actually...
I'm like only vaguely aware of the TV show and by extension the movie.
Well, of course we watched. Of course we know about the TV show because
our grandma used to watch it.
Our grandma used to watch it way back when.
So there would be like ads for it.
Yes, it's a great show though.
I don't really remember much about it, but I think it's more just because it's not really the genre that I'm too into.
It's a pseudo sequel of the movie for what it's worth. Like it takes plot elements from the movie and then it's just like, oh, this happened years later. Everyone's friendly and all that. So, bit of a it's all kind of one narrative, but Dwayne Jones just happens to be one of those iconic actors in fiction for this very reason. Because Romero didn't think this movie was gonna be anything. He just wanted to make it because, you know, he's a filmmaker and he just wanted to make a film. And unfortunately,
it's the same way how Bruce Campbell became such a big name. He had a friend who really wanted to make a movie. They made a movie, and it was really good.
It was really good, and it got super popular when they didn't realize it. Of course, there's also the social implications of this movie as well, which, again, Romero allegedly didn't have any clue was going to be involved. And after the release, it's like, no, you had to have known. Come on, dude. Come on. What's crazy about this movie is because it has a black lead, when they finished it and they had the reel, they had the completed picture and they were going to Philadelphia to finish it up and everything and like hype it up for that October release. Like as they were driving not to Philadelphia but to Pittsburgh, they had learned that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed right after they had completed filming. So the movie takes, in the atmosphere of Martin Luther King Jr. dying and being assassinated, the movie takes on a whole different aspect.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yes, they had just wrapped up filming. They had the reels. They were going to go edit it and do everything. And then they learned that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot, and that's when they realized that this movie could possibly like break barriers, specifically because Ben was a black lead, and Ben is probably the most morally good character in the movie. None of the characters are necessarily bad people. Like
they're all characters where you can be like, I can kind of see where they're coming from for the most part. This is like one character where like, this guy's an asshole, but he's not necessarily wrong in his thinking.
Each of these characters are how people would feasibly react in like a crisis. And it's similar to like The Thing, where there's not necessarily like any bad guy in that movie, but there's certainly assholes in that movie. But all of them are characters who have different reactions to a crisis. And that's what Night of the Living Dead is. Essentially, it's a base under siege movie, but starring a bunch of civilians who have no clue what's happening as their base is under siege from zombies.
I know at one point Ben gets a radio working and they're able to hear radio broadcasts about what's going on.
So,
which reveals that it's not just a local thing, it's happening all over the world and everybody's not trying to figure out what's going on.
Initially, what they hear from the radio reports is that it's mostly happening in the United States east of the Mississippi, outside of very isolated incidents in like Louisiana and eastern parts of Texas.
And as far as anybody at this point is aware, it's just a bizarre string of homicides.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't yet come to the realization that it's the recently dead
coming back to life. And so Ben takes charge immediately, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna hunker down here." Barbara's basically comatose for the entire movie.
Like she is aware enough to explain her situation in a bit of a hysterical fashion, but in a way that I think Ben is able to piece together what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So he spends a good chunk of the time boarding up the windows and blocking off doors.
So
for the most part,
he explains that he was hanging out at a diner, when all of a sudden like a bunch of shit started happening. There was a tanker truck that blew up, and
it rammed right into the nearby gas station.
Yep, rammed into the gas station and ignited
while being chased by people.
By those things, as they call them early on in this movie, and it blows up. And it's during this explanation that Ben then kind of pieces together, oh, they're afraid of fire. And so Ben ignites like an armchair and pushes it out of the back porch to...
Yeah, I love how he just absolutely douses the thing in lighter fluid.
Yeah, he douses the motherfucker.
He first uses it to light the fireplace to try and keep the place warm. And then he douses in lighter fluid, drags it out to one of the doors they have access to, lights it, and shoves it out of the front porch or the back porch. I don't know which porch it is.
Right? Yeah, out of a porch, because there's 2 doors to the house. And then, of course, Barbara also almost gets attacked by a zombie who was inside the house. And Ben dispatches that one pretty quick, and then he kills another 2 zombies outside near his van with a tire iron.
Yeah. And then lights the corpse that he drug out of the house on fire.
And
they've actually done that before the armchair.
Yeah, it's like an in-between. There's a big part where he's boarding up the house. He lights up a corpse. He lights up an armchair. Tosses it outside because he wants to keep the zombies away from the house right now.
Especially since more are gathering.
Yeah.
It's not just a handful. It's like starting to grow into a horde of them.
Right.
That may just be being attracted to the fact that there are lights on in this building.
Yeah. And so after that, Ben explains his story. This is after they've boarded up the house and everything. So there's also a small scene where zombies destroy the headlights on the truck that Ben drove in on.
In fact, the entire reason Ben even came to this farmhouse because there's a nearby gas station that he was going to use to refuel the truck, but it had a padlock on it, keeping it from being used.
Being accessible.
So he had kind of hoped that he would find the key in the house, had hoped that Barbara, who he found in the house, lived there and knew where the key was, so they could just refuel and get out of there. And that turned out to not be the case.
Nope. And it all goes downhill from here. This is debatably the safest that the crew is. So we've got Ben and Barbara. Those are our big 2. But we are almost very quickly introduced to a couple of other characters who come out from the cellar.
Yeah, it turns out there was a hidden door to the cellar.
And so we're introduced to... sorry, give me just a second here. We're introduced to Harry Cooper. We're introduced to his wife or ex-wife Helen Cooper. Their daughter Karen
is down in the basement injured,
and Tom, who is
just a random guy with his girlfriend.
Yep.
What is her name? Judith?
Judy. Yep, Judy.
I was very close.
And so Tom and Judy are like the teenagers here. They're very young. They're like, Judy's 19. Tom is in his early 20s. And turns out Tom is like the voice of reason throughout this entire film. Well, when he's on screen.
Because Mr. Cooper is hostile towards Ben, mostly because he just wants everybody to get into the basement so that they can hunker down and try and wait it out.
But of course, there's always the undertone of a working class white man not wanting to take orders from a confident black man, which is its own can of worms, and it's subtext.
Right, but on the face of it, it's just a clash of Ben wanting to get the truck refueled so that they can all just leave, and Cooper just wanting to hunker down and hope that the whole thing blows over.
Yeah, Ben's initial idea is to stay out of the basement and hunker up and continue barricading the main house.
Just because that they'll have multiple ways to escape if it needs to come to.
Yeah.
Whereas in the cellar, there's just the one door leading up. Again, this is a movie where characters have conflicting viewpoints, but they're not necessarily wrong about their way of thinking, for the most part.
Yeah. So the issue is that Cooper's just hostile and argumentative about it. And Tom, of course, gives the most common sense answer to it, where he explains, hey, listen, we can get to the basement if we have to. Up here, if we can work together and barricade the place up more, we'll at least have time to think things out. And we can decide from there. And so Cooper is just like, fuck this, and he locks up. Tom calls Judy to come upstairs, and then Cooper locks up the cellar door and goes down, and then almost immediately he's called out by his wife, who's like, "You're a dumbass. This is stupid. What's wrong with you?"
I do know that he does at least help bring a TV from somewhere in the house and hook it up in the living room area so that they can all watch the news to try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, when Tom calls downstairs and is like, "Hey, we found a television," Helen is immediately like, "Nope, we're going upstairs. No arguments. We're going upstairs, and you're helping them. God damn it!" And
it's thanks to them finding the TV and watching the news that we start to get more of what's going on. There is a maxim with regards to movies known as "show don't tell," which is to show what's happening rather than just have it be explained. This movie ignores that, and I think that's for the better. Because a lot of the exposition about what's happening in the broader sense of this film is thanks to the exposition from TV and radio.
Correct.
As news reports are trying to keep everybody in the nation informed of what's going on. It's through watching the TV that they learn that it's not just random suicides that are occurring, it's actually the living dead that are returning to life and killing people and partially devouring them.
And it's also through the TV where they get the idea to fill up the truck and escape, because they realize, oh, there's like
a report at one point a bit later in the movie where the announcer is like, yeah, no, don't hole up. We've got like emergency stations set up.
Yeah.
The military, go there to seek help. Don't stay where you are. Sorry we reported that earlier, but we're wrong. We're trying to help you because we didn't know what was going on. Now we do. We have a better understanding of what's going on, and we can better inform you of what to do.
Yeah. So essentially, yeah, the nearest like evacuation center is about 12 miles from the house, because Tom, as it actually happens, Tom is actually from the area. And so when he originally heard the reports of what was happening, he remembered that this abandoned house was here, and so he arrived there. And that's
so yeah. Nobody currently in this house is from the area.
Yeah, only Tom and
nobody was living here before everybody just kind of came to this one location.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And so, Tom and Judy are from the area, of course. Tom especially, and he's like, "Oh, I can drive the truck. That's no problem." And so Ben and Tom put together this plan, which is essentially, and it was a good plan at that. It was a good idea in theory, but essentially they're gonna take the truck. They'll have Molotov cocktails constructed where
using like kerosene inside, in jars,
where Harry will throw it out from the second floor to distract the ghouls, and then Tom and Ben will take the truck. They'll get to the pump. They'll unlock the pump. They'll fill it up with gas. Come back to the house. They'll break off the main door, and then they'll get the women and the child from the basement onto the truck, where they'll drive to the evacuation center. A solid plan, in theory.
And at this point, we're going to take a spoiler break.
Yes, of course. So, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I mean, it's not a Living Dead. You kind of have to. I mean, it's a great film.
I remember years ago for Christmas, I got this 50-movie pack of horror movies.
Ah, yes.
And this movie was on there, and it was one of the first I watched, and it was incredibly solid. And I have loved the movie ever since.
Of course, that DVD set also had A House on Haunted Hill as well.
And Metropolis, and Nosferatu, and Phantom of the Opera.
Just a bunch of public domain titles, which is wild. And we've already reviewed House on Haunted Hill. If you don't want to know what that one's about,
I feel next year we're due for more price.
Possibly. Nevertheless, the movie's just great from start to finish. The whole opening sequence where it's them driving through the countryside is kind of a brilliant idea. There's not a single character that's really poorly written, except maybe Barbara. But she's also catatonic for most of the film.
That's at least believable.
Yeah.
Like, I can believe somebody would just check out for an entire crisis.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character?
Ben?
I mean, it's gotta be Ben.
It's hard to deny that Ben really stands out as the lead.
Yeah. What would you say was your favorite scene? It's hard because there's a lot of good ones.
That's a lot of good ones. I don't think I could come up with a single favorite scene, but one that I always remember because it was included on this DVD, or not DVD, this CD for like Blockbuster Guide to Movies and Videos.
Yes, I remember that.
And that had clips from various movies, and what the clip that they had for Night of the Living Dead was them watching the TV with the news broadcast, talking about what's going on and how the recently dead have returned to life. Like, that one is memorable to me. I wouldn't say that it's my favorite, but it's the one that comes to mind when I think of this movie.
I remember that DVD. I missed the hell out of it because it had I forget when it came out. It came out like 95.
I'm pretty sure we got it for like free with the computer.
Mm-hmm. And it had like a bunch of horror movies on it, and that's large. Like, it had a picture from American Werewolf in London, and like
the iconic scene.
Yeah, where it's him transforming into the werewolf, and of course, 12-year-old me being like, "That's fucking creepy."
And now 39-year-old me being like, "That's fucking creepy," but really well made.
And meanwhile, 29-year-old me right now being like, "Fuck John Landis. I won't even review any of his movies. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Tell us how you really feel."
Fuck him. We've talked about John Landis already in the past. Everybody knows why I don't like him.
Right.
No, that's fine. You got any recommendations this week?
Since we're talking about a public domain movie, I've actually lately been watching Mystery Science Theater 3000, which combines elements of, like, say, Elvira and Svengoolie, where it's a hosted block of movies,
Mm-hmm.
but with the added benefit of having the hosts also cracking jokes while watching the movie.
Yes. It's riff tracks before riff tracks was a thing.
Literally, it's
Yep.
the guys who made Mystery Science Theater 3000 went on to do riff tracks, specifically because of how big MST3K got.
And of course, MST3K, it was a Minnesota-based production.
Yeah. Actually aired on like local TV for its first season 0.
Yep.
Which is rendered non-canon according to the guys who.
Dang.
Like they're like, yeah, no, that season isn't canon, so
don't worry about it.
Which is fine because the show has like only a very loose narrative of the main host, originally Joel Hodgson, but later Mike Nelson, basically being shot up into space and forced to watch a movie by mad scientists and other ne'er-do-wells, and to try and cope with the fact that he's watching these really crappy movies. He built robots to help him watch the movies.
There's actually there's a YouTuber I watch who's called Civ11, and his whole gimmick is kind of borrowed from MST3K, but instead of like, oh, he's shot up into space and he builds these robots. No, he's imprisoned in a deep underground facility in New Mexico for like the criminally condemned, and he's forced to play shitty first-person shooter games. And there's a couple of like, and it's a parody of like those. It's a parody of stuff like AVGN, which has like all this lore behind it, and it has like continuity and everything. Whereas Civ11 is just like, oh no, everything is canon and nothing is canon, and I'm going to invoke that constantly in all my videos.
Yeah, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if like James Rolfe and Doug Walker and maybe a bunch of other YouTubers probably cribbed a bit from Mystery Science Theater 3000 for their series.
But it's funny because one of the there's a couple of running gags from it. There's Cancer Mouse, which is literally a radioactive mouse that's supposed to be indicative of like Gamergate, like right-wing gaming opinions. And so it's just like a glowing green mouse who just says some out there shit. There's no Python, which is specifically a rule where it's like, no, you're not allowed to quote Monty Python or else you get electrocuted. And then of course puns also get him electrified by the robots that are basically his wardens. So,
but yeah, no. Weird thing about Mystery Science Theater, you can get most of the show on like DVD, but you're not gonna get it in order. Like if you pick up Volume 1, you're gonna get like a random. If you pick up any given volume, with a couple exceptions, you're going to just get random episodes from random seasons. Like the first set that actually has the first non-local channel episode is volume 17, to give you an idea of how that is. And then like two of the movies that are included in that set are from like season 9 and 10.
right.
And it's all due to the licensing issues for the movies, because I know that they actually had to initially they released their 10th set, and then they had to release it at 10.2, because one of the movies that was included in the original Volume 10 was Godzilla vs. Megalon, and they had to replace that for 10.2 with the giant Gila monster due to Toho being like, hey, you can't do that.
Dang.
But then they've got like a whole set, which is all 5 of their episodes covering 5 of the Gamera movies. Let's see. The one I'm currently watching is The Touch of Satan from, I want to say, season 10, which is like a horror drama.
Right. So it's got a long history. Mystery Science Theater 3000.
And it's not any one genre of movie. I've seen comedies, I've seen dramas, I've seen a really messed up version of Back to the Future. It runs the whole gamut of crappy movies, and while the show ran from the late 80s to the late 90s, it did in recent years get revitalized thanks to efforts like Kickstarter. So there actually are 3 new seasons of the show with different cast members, but which are continuations of the original plot, air quotes, of the original series. And I'm certainly interested in checking those out. Those are the only ones where you can get full seasons on Blu-ray. Everything else you got to pick up like random sets. I actually did dedicate a whole lot of time to just figure out which sets I got to put in order to have the episodes be in order, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last set that has like the latest episodes is like set 5, and then like set 1 is wedged like in the middle. It's crazy, but incredibly fun. So, what's your recommendation?
Return of the Obra Dinn. It's a adventure mystery game created by fuck. It's by the same person who made Papers, Please, Lucas Pope. And it's really good. It's been on my mind a lot lately.
I played a little bit of that, and I regret not playing more because it was legitimately really interesting.
You need to sit down one of those days and just to get through it.
It's definitely got an interesting premise. Why don't you explain what the premise is?
So the year is 1807, and the derelict Obra Dinn has finally returned to port after disappearing 5 years previous. You are the chief inspector of the Honorable East India Company, who chartered the Obra Dinn and insured it, and your mission is to be sent to Falmouth to hop aboard the Obra Dinn and investigate and write out your findings to the East India Company for insurance purposes. That's literally it. Except it's not, because you have eldritch stuff happening.
It doesn't take very long for you to uncover that something really messed up happened here.
Yes, and it's essentially, it's kind of like a whodunit game where you also have like you have a manifest of the list of crew and passengers, and then you also have drawings of people's faces, and so you have to put a name to a face while also figuring out how they died. And so that adds a whole other level of complication to it. And in order to see the death scenes, you have a pocket watch which goes back to a freeze frame diorama of the moment of death for each of these characters that you can at least find. It's quite something. Yes.
Yeah, real fun.
It's really good.
Yeah, like I said, I really should have kept playing that. I don't know why he's laughing.
It's a great game. Definitely should check it out. I can't reveal much because spoilers would just ruin the experience.
I would agree with that sentiment. I mean, basically, us saying that eldritch things were involved is about as much as I know. I have not.
Yep.
Like I said, I haven't played through the game entirely, but what I have played was really fun, and that's about as much as I found out.
There's specifically one character, and I can't say his name, but I hate him. He is the worst character ever. I have never hated a fictional character in a video game more than this character in a long time. Where it's just like, I hate you, like, you're like chaotic evil. Oh no.
That just reminds me of Kamen Rider Fights. It's not a show I much care for, but it has a character who is such an asshole that I love the actor for how well he played such an asshole. I have no disrespect for any of the actors in this show, but this character is a fucking asshole. And I love how well he's depicted. The actor does a fantastic job just making him a despicable person.
Yeah.
And so I can definitely understand where you're coming from. Weird thing is, he's not a villain in the show. He's just an asshole.
No, for real. So I suppose we better get back to Night of the Living Dead, of course.
Well, Cooper starts chucking Molotov cocktails out of the second-story window to try and clear a path to the gas pump.
Ben and Tom, they get there, but of course, there's a little snag in their plan because Judy gets the yips and decides to run out after them. And so she's brought along, even though that wasn't the plan. Judy! And they get to the pump, and Ben's got a gun, by the way. They found a rifle, and he's got a couple bullets with it.
Turns out the key that they had found isn't working.
None of the keys that they can find are working. And so Ben decides to shoot the pump to break it open. And then Tom, stupidly, of course, starts the pump up right away.
Before they even get close to the truck.
And now the truck is lit on fire. And Tom is like, no, just wait. I'll get it away from the pump before it explodes. And he gets away from it. And he and Judy are about to escape from the vehicle.
Except Judy's got her coat caught in the door.
I'm stuck. I got my jacket caught. And then it explodes. The truck explodes. So Judy and Tom are dead.
Ben has to hoof it back to the house.
And Cooper...
The zombies get a feast.
The zombies do get a feast. And Cooper is such an asshole that he leaves Ben locked outside.
For a moment.
And, of course, Ben has to bust the door down, literally, to get in.
And then Cooper decides to help board it back up. And once they get done, Ben punches the guy's lights out.
Yep.
Understandably.
So shortly afterwards, then, the zombies are feasting. They're eating the cooked bodies of Ben and Tom and Judy.
It's a grisly scene.
It's a grisly scene, yeah.
Like they use actual meat products in place of human flesh.
Yeah.
It's certainly believable.
And so the rest of the crew, they're kind of just stuck watching TV now. And it's where they get confirmation that the dead are coming back to life. And then we also get a scene where a couple of scientists and a general are walking through Washington, D.C. And they basically explain...
The news reporters who are trying to get a statement from them are basically speculating that it had something to do with a mysterious celestial object that crashed into Earth not too long ago. That was radiation. And for all intents and purposes, since I haven't seen most of the later Romero zombie movies, this is the explanation we get for why the dead are coming back to life. And I'm kind of disappointed that they actually try to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of was okay with it being a huge mystery. Like, the dead are just coming back to life for some reason, and now you just have to deal with it. I feel like them giving it an explanation kind of lessens the impact. And I think I feel that strongly about it that I blocked that bit of information from my ears for decades after watching the movie. Because I could claim that they didn't explain what happened.
They tried.
Until we rewatched the movie, it's like, oh, they did.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, after this, the lights go out, and we actually finally get to the climax of the movie. And the zombies, they finished feeding on Tom and Judy, and they turn their attention towards the house. The power goes out, and they begin their attack. And so,
now, by this point, the survivors have learned that headshots are killing blows to the zombies. Shoot them in the head, that'll take them out.
Yeah, shoot them in the
head. There's
head.
actually a posse coming through the area that where they're like, oh yeah, no, do that, cook him or shoot him or burn him.
Yep. And so, because it basically becomes a last stand, because that's really what it is. And in very quick succession, because a bunch of stuff happens at first. So Ben and Helen and Harry are defending the windows. Barbara's still catatonic, and the Cooper daughter is still in the basement. We haven't seen much of her at all. And Harry decides it's time to steal the gun from Ben, who accidentally drops it as he's trying to keep the window barricades up. And Harry threatens to shoot Ben, and he's like, "All right, everybody, into the fucking cellar." But Ben, with quick thinking, tosses a board at Harry and steals back the gun, and then shoots Harry dead, point blank in the stomach and chest.
Like, he survives long enough to get down into the basement.
Where he dies then, next to his daughter. And, like, Harry, he had it coming.
Oh, yeah.
He had it coming. It's like, dude, it's a crisis. Shit's happening. You quit trying to soothe your ego.
Like, he's the one character in the show is like, yeah, no, he definitely deserved to die.
Somehow he's even worse in the remake, too. Funnily enough. So,
which was actually the first version of the movie I saw. I saw the remake on TV years before watching the original. I don't really remember a whole lot about it, though.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely a movie I should watch again.
Yes. So, Harry Cooper's dead. Helen Cooper gets grabbed by a bunch of zombies. And this is finally what spurs Barbara into action. And she comes to help Helen and manages to rescue Helen. So Helen runs downstairs, where she comes into the awaiting arms of her daughter feasting on Harry.
Yeah, it turns out their daughter was infected this entire time.
Had gotten bit.
And passed away and reanimated.
Yep, it was referenced that she had been bit earlier in the movie. And it's not established until the next movie that bites directly cause death.
I think there is some mention of it from, like, the news.
Possibly, but I don't think it's, like, explicitly stated like it is in Dawn. It's implied. Whereas Dawn, it spells...
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a nice twist reveal that now is so common knowledge about zombies.
Right. So...
But also the fact that, you know, there's a killer child now in the mix.
And, of course, Helen gets spaded for her troubles. Literally.
Yeah, the daughter just knifes her to death with a spade.
Yeah, a gardening spade. And it's pretty gruesome. Especially the voice effects that they did for it. So now it's Ben and Barbara left. But, of course, who should show up but Johnny?
It's Johnny! Johnny's back!
In zombie form.
Oh, no.
And so Johnny grabs Barbara and then drags her outside. And this is where we get one of the funniest fan theories in all of the Dead series, where Barbara didn't die, she actually escaped from the horde. Because we never see her get bitten. All we see is her getting dragged outside. And so the fan theory is like, nah, she didn't die, she ran away. She managed to escape. Ben, so Ben's the last man standing.
And with the only resort left to him, he huffs it down to the basement, boards up the door.
He tosses the daughter out, of course.
Well, she comes up to the second floor, and apparently the actor wasn't aware that she was going to be involved in the scene, so he shoves her out of the way.
Yep.
Which is really effective, and boards himself up in the basement.
And so he sees... So then he sees Harry reanimate, and he sees Helen reanimate, and he shoots and kills both.
Well, I don't think Helen reanimates. I think he more preemptively...
No, she opened her eyes.
I think her eyes were already open.
Nope.
I'm pretty confident she died with her eyes open.
Nope. You'll have to rewatch it.
Okay.
But she opens her eyes, and that's when Ben shoots her. Because she starts reanimating.
I mean, we'll agree to disagree on this point.
Just rewatch it. You'll see I'm right. You'll put in an edit in the description. I was wrong.
No, I won't.
Yeah, because you're a coward.
We'll leave it up to the viewers to watch to find out which of us was right.
I see. Purposefully misdirecting the viewer, huh? Fine. So Ben survives the night, of course, is the reveal. He manages to survive the night. The posse is coming through. They're killing all the zombies and everything.
And Ben is hearing the gunshots from the basement.
And the dogs and the helicopters. He's hearing all sorts of noise.
Now, I'm just going to assume that the zombie horde just kind of dispersed out of the house.
Yes.
After failing to get through the cellar door. Because it don't look like there are any fallen corpses when Ben emerges from the cellar to try and see what's going on.
No, not really. Yeah, chances are because they couldn't get in, they decided to just wander away and focus on other things like other corpses.
And so while the posse is dealing with cleanup, Ben decides to take a look through one of the boarded up windows and gets shot in the head for it.
Yep, Ben dies. Black man dies last. And for anybody watching in like modern day, every time I show people this movie blind because I always love to see their reactions to this final scene. I've had at least 3 angry reactions to it where it's just like, no, this is not the end of the movie. What the fuck?
Like I was surprised when I got to the end of the movie and that happened, but I like it. I like that they did that.
It's a very grisly and depressing end to a fantastic film.
A pretty grim and depressing movie.
Pretty much. And what's crazy about it is everybody dies through their own faults. Harry died because of his own arrogance. Tom and Judy died because
Tom was a dumbass who started the pump early, and Judy wasn't conscious enough to try and make sure all her clothes were properly secured.
Nor did she stick to the plan, was the other thing.
And Barbara just seeing Johnny just breaks her.
Yep.
Even more than she already was.
And yeah.
And Ben is more a case of curiosity killing the cat.
Wrong place, wrong time. Yep. And so everyone's dead. That's the end of the movie.
I think really the only character to die in this movie who didn't cause their own death was the little girl.
Yeah.
But that's only because we don't really know how she got bit.
Yeah, all we know is, somebody went up to her, grabbed her, and bit her in the arm. And that's all we know.
But yeah, no, for such a low-budget movie, it uses its low budget incredibly effectively to create an incredibly tense and creepy atmosphere.
That's why we say it's 10 out of 10, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Night of the Living Dead would go on to influence horror history, film history, in fact, for the rest of time.
I guess it's arguably the most successful independent movie ever made. If not for the guys who actually made it.
Well, contention for that would be Blair Witch Project, which was made on even less of a budget than Night of the Living Dead, and made thousands of times over its budget and box office money.
I remember we did a brief parody of that movie when we were doing the Cloverfield review over on Got My Song. We're like, Tank, you're referencing the wrong found footage movie.
Oh, I see. Yes, of course. My bad. I see. Man.
Maybe I was the one referencing the wrong one. One of us was referencing the wrong found footage movie.
How could you? How could you forget? You deserve to get beat up for this.
But yeah, like we said, this movie spawned a number of sequels from Romero and a number of copycats and ripoffs, and well, basically the zombie genre has fits and starts over the past few years, past few decades, as a result of this one movie.
It was, yeah, it got, like, zombie movies got really big in the 80s because nobody was really doing it in the 70s necessarily. Not until after Dawn.
Right.
And after Dawn, it's really when the zombies got, like, super big. But Dawn was in 78. Lucio Fulci's Zombie was, like, 79.
I thought it was Zombie 2.
But we don't... Shh. We'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
And, you know, they sort of continued that. But there were just, like, the 80s had just a bunch of zombie movies, and the 90s had a bunch of zombie movies. The 2000s had thousands of zombie movies. I mean, Jesus Christ, 28 Days Later, which may have been 99.
No, I think it was early 2000s.
No, yes, never mind. It may have been 2002 or so. Like, Dead...
That one recontextualized a lot of the zombie movies, because it's technically not a zombie movie.
It's The Infected, which, of course, is a tale...
Which brings a whole new spate of issues in a good way.
Yep. I mean, and following along that, you know, it's like, oh, and then you get into, like, zombie games, and there's so much. I mean, there's Resident Evil, there's Dead Rising, there's Left 4 Dead.
The Call of Duty games just basically included zombie modes for everything past a certain point, just because they could.
Yeah. Just zombies board game, zombies.
Zombies ate my neighbors.
Zombies ate my neighbors. Betrayal at the house on the hill. It has zombies in a scenario.
Granted, it's got like a whole bunch of other horror scenarios too, but
zombies.
They're there.
But zombies, yeah. I mean, Billy and Mandy has an entire Night of the Living Dead episode.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Which is called Brown Evil.
I've recently been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. They recently had basically a zombie story arc and absolutely butchered the reference to Night of the Living Dead.
They have a zombie character named Bones in the original Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, only in the U.S. version.
Only in the U.S. version, of course, but still.
His name is Ghost Kozuka in the Japanese version, but he uses a zombie deck.
Brains. Yes, immortalized by
Little Karibo.
By Little Karibo. So, yeah, highly influential film. Great film. Bravo.
If it's not clear, we're actually going to be covering the next two Romero zombie movies in the coming weeks.
Yep.
In the lead up to Halloween.
We're going to be doing Dawn and Day.
And of those two, Dawn is the only one I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I've seen Night of the Living Dead, I've seen Day of the Dead, but I've never seen Dawn of the Dead. So this is going to be a real interesting experience.
He's going to like it a lot.
I'm sure I will, but for how influential that movie was and the fact that I've never seen it.
Zombies and Malls, also extremely influential. And dare I say, I would say Dawn is almost a better film.
Oh wait, I did watch Dawn of the Dead.
The remake.
Yes.
God damn it. You fucking clown.
God, I should have watched the Day of the Dead remake before watching Day of the Dead.
Oh, no. No. I hate you. No, you should watch Day of the Dead 2, Contagion. Yeah, that's a thing, people.
Are they all canon to the Romero movies?
No.
Are you sure?
One of them has a vegetarian zombie. I am shitting you not. Because the person who dies was a vegetarian. The zombie that reanimates from him is also vegetarian. So he doesn't eat people. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So, there you go. We'll see you next time for malls and sliding down escalators that you're not supposed to anymore. Goodbye.
See ya.